Okay, so let's change some things from this image. If I close this image here and I go to um, the mapping texturing, um, we can go to let's actually move a little bit, make this one smaller, and move this one here and there, so we can see what's happening in the scene. We can change many things. We'll see that in detail in other tutorials, but for now, just to know that in the UV direction, and once again, sort of the lines that define each plane that we have here, we can set that to 2 and 2, and you will see how that is changing as we change those. There we go. So it's like closer to it. So we can open the window and do like a little rendering of a little box here and see what happened. You see it's half the size, so I think for now it's good. I mean, probably want to go to each of the planes and change it slightly, and probably the rotation of it, but for now I think the idea is sent and clear. Just close that again. Another thing we can do for that wood, let's do the same actually for the grass first. If I move this guy here, and this is the grass, as you remember, we can do the same operation, which is instead of in the diffuse, in the color, we can set, instead of a gray, we can say give me whatever file image. Now we can say give me here file, and you see how everything changes. It's going to do the same thing as we had here, but because of some reason that of serial coordinates of the working area, the different parts are like set like crazy at the beginning, so you probably want to reallocate them so it's clearer to follow the history of the steps for each of the materials. So we're going to go to File and assign a folder, and I have this grass here, JPEG, and open, and immediately it's going to be shown here and here as materials, and also here. Another thing we want to do is in the displacement, because if I manage this and I see the grass is obviously too big, so we want to go to displacement of the material and change the UV even up to, I don't know, 25. You see, change it only in one direction, which is the U, and then now 25 in the other one, which is the V, and it will create a smaller grid. We can go to View, Bookmarks, and Camera View 1, and that should be nice. Another thing we want to do now is understand the idea of bump for each of these materials. So let's take this one out and consider now our I'm going to scroll in to see it. Consider our wood material. We can not only assign an image as we have done. This has changed from checker to this because we have inserted a different file to it. So we can also go to either of these boxes and assign an image to them. So imagine you want to reflect only certain parts and not others. You can go here and assign a file to that. Now under what condition that image is working, and let's go to the one we want to work on, which is the bump here in the bottom for that material. And we go to overall bump, we press the checker box here, and we say file again. And as you may remember, well, the graph is kind of broken, but it's the same idea. Instead of 2 guys, we're going to have 3, and we'll see that each of them are talking about specific things related to the idea of bump for that material. One of them being file, which is, once again, we assign the file that we want, and in this case we want this one black and white, B, and then blanco y negro. And what Maya is going to do, understand, is like many other softwares, is going to understand black and white and give like a height of deformation, apparent deformation to those values. So if we have this image that corresponds with the image, original image of the material, and it has the same black and white quality corresponding with where the bumps we want them to happen, the software is going to take those little black areas and grays, it's going to elevate them and give a bump feeling to that material. That's why this image here has to come from this one, and I did it in Photoshop with a very simple desaturation and changing the levels of that image. So we're going to say open here, and as it happened here, immediately we're going to have that image associated, but associated to the bump. Remember that in the displacement of the mapping of the image, we say 2 and 2. We have to do the same for that one, and we will see later on that you can link one for the both. Of course, you don't have to do it 2 times. But for now, to understand the idea that the image of the bump has to be mapped the same number of times as this one is important. So I'm going to render a specific area to see if there's any difference, and we'll see it. Render the box, and that really shows this change. So you see how strong the difference of the bump feeling is given here. Even changes the color because the reflections and the calculation of all these factors are pretty much affecting the material itself. Now it's quite aggressive, so we want to obviously reduce that quite a lot. And how do we do that? It's simple. We can do it in 2 ways. One is the first attribute is pretty much the bump attribute of the material. So we can say the depth here, instead of being 1, to be 0. I don't know, 5 to half, or even less. Let's say 25. And if we do a window render next to this, to see the difference, you see how this is actually bumping less, much less than this one was. So in that sense, we actually probably want to change the displacement from 2 to 3 and it's going to change the number of times that both the material and 3, and also the displacement for this guy. We press here and we're going to say again 3 and 3, you know. Another thing you can do is, instead of changing the bump here in the 0.25, the depth, you can also go here to the image and change all the factors that make that image as it is. You know, you can go to interactive and change color balancing, between the parts. And as you change all these values, this image is going to change. But for now, we're going to leave it here so you understand what's going on. I'm going to render it, and even though it's not going to be the best one, I think we should stop here to understand the basics of what bump means and what assigning an image in relation to a bump, and what does that mean. Okay, I'll render and pause it there. Okay, I think it looks nice. You see the bump here is because of its characteristics reflecting parts of the sky, and so which looks much better. I'm devoted to actually eliminating as much as possible this horizon, which is not nice at all. So I'm going to do it. I was going to stop there, but I'm going to get rid of that horizon. I don't like it. So I'm going to just close this, and a very simple way we could do that is by, as you know, R, make it bigger, and I'm going to select this guy, and as simple as convert to polygons because it's nerves. And now I'm gonna do the classic go into vertex, selecting several of them. I'm gonna go to view, bookmarks, camera view, and I'm gonna just take that up. Press 3, by the way, to relax the surface, and then take those up, so they have this feeling of like if we have a mountain there somehow. And this one up here as well, and this one up as if it was a mountain as well. And I mean, you don't have to render the whole thing. I'm going to render all this area, which I know is the one's going to be affected, and hopefully I got right the horizon, and I'll do that. I'm going to pause it. Okay, so it's, I mean, obviously this mountain should be backwards and there will be like trees, but now I'm happy that we don't have that background, so it's nice. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Done.